In today's match, we have a near leg breaker, 5 cards, a potential mask-on, I even ignore the linesman which leads to a penalty, 30-yard wonder goal, and the game goes to penalties. My name's Eric and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Whistle. I'm a level 5 referee here in England and I take you in the day in the life of what it's like to be a referee. Today we are officiating Smith's Barometrics versus Treadworth Tigers. FC Barometrics sit in the Gloucestershire Northern Senior League Division 2 and Treadworth Tigers sit in the Gloucestershire Northern League Division 1. We are refereeing the quarter-final of the Reg Davis Cup. It's the first time I've officiated on this competition and I'm very much looking forward to it. This game is jam-packed with things to cover, so stay tuned as we go through my pre-match, my post-match thoughts, and then we review all of the key decisions after the game. As usual, I'll be using the Fox 40 Sonic Blast with the ref stop lanyard. If you guys are out there and you don't have a lanyard, I would honestly get one. They're about £2 or £3. They save you so much trouble with having to handle the whistle. You can also get like finger grip whistles like this, so they just sit on your hand and you don't have to worry about carrying it. You can shake your hand around, it'll stay on. Finger grip or a lanyard, whichever you prefer, but definitely get one. Don't be carrying it around in your hand loose because so much risk of dropping it or it slipping. Also, how many cards do you guys take out? I was out with a referee that takes 2 yellow cards and 2 red cards. I've only ever taken out 1 yellow, 1 red. They were explaining that you have your notebook cards, right? So you've got your yellow and red in your notebook, but then they'll also have cards for the pockets. So they'll have a red card kind of up top, quick if needed, and then they have a yellow card in both pockets. So really interesting. I'm going to try it tonight. Basically, I'm going to carry the notebook with my match card so that I can jot everything down and then take a yellow card in my pocket if I need a quick one, and obviously just keep the red card up top or in the back pocket if needed. Fortunately, I'm not using Ref 6 today, annoyingly, because I forgot to charge my watch, if I'm honest. 7 o'clock, half an hour before kickoff, we're just going to go out and check the pitch. We're in nice change rooms again. You guys will recognise this at Bishop's Cleeve Football Club. You've seen this a few times now and you'll recognise the pitch as well. Barrows versus Treadworth. Should be an interesting game. Let's enjoy it. Game. So it ended up going to penalties. I won't say who won. I'll let you guys enjoy it during the review. But it was a tough game, real tough game. I gave 2 cautions to both sides for players, and then Treadworth, the away team, were given 1 caution to their manager. Really tough game. It was by no means my best performance as a referee. I actually struggled out there tonight. I definitely made some incorrect decisions, and yeah, it was difficult, and I'm not sure why it felt so difficult, but it wasn't an easy game. However, it was a game that very, very much had the opportunity to boil over, and it didn't, and I felt like that's because I dealt with some of it. Doesn't mean I got it all right, I definitely didn't, but yeah, it's nice to get out of those tough games with it not boiling over and not descending into like some sort of chaos. Yeah, 2-2. One of the teams were a winner on penalties, which we'll jump into in a minute. And yeah, I'll see you guys when we jump into the review. Now, a few of you will notice a little bit of difference in the background, and this is for you, P. Ryan. I'll fix the handle. Well, I haven't really, it does just come off. But seeing as you're sick of seeing it, Ryan, I'm going to put it on there just for you. There you go, good as new. So just 2 minutes into the game, we get this quick break from the team in blue. Now, when that ball initially gets played, I thought the defender in white was going to win it, but he doesn't. He misses the ball, and so we've got to make a quick sprint in to make sure we're in position for a potential, key match incident. So as that ball breaks onto the edge of the box, we work in left, and as it gets crossed, we make sure we don't stop running in, and we end up inside the box with a great view on something that might be happening. So yeah, really happy with that at the start of the game. We just have to make sure we do it all the way through the game. Then about 12 minutes in, the team in blue go 1-0 up. There's a quick turnover in possession, and before that ball is played, we recognise that and we start to move forward before that ball is played. So we make sure that we're on our front foot knowing that he's about to play that pass. Once the pass is played, we make a big sprint to make sure there's no foul. Obviously there's a potential dog zone, so we want to get into position. Again, we break round left. Nothing happens, there's just a goal, but we'd have been right there if something was to happen. So super happy with this. Making sure I'm sweeping left with play to make sure I'm in a good position if anything is to happen. Shortly after that, in the 14th minute, we get this little push in the back. With it being relatively early in the game, I wanted to make sure I set my threshold quite clear for the types of contact that I'm happy with. If you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know that I've got no problem with little nudges and competitive physical battles. I don't have a problem with that at all. However, pushes directly in the back are a bit of a problem, especially at the lower level. People are asking for them all the time, but this for me is a clear little push in the back, so we just want to give it and set the threshold for the rest of the match. You'll then see our positioning for this goal kick just 3 minutes later. Now, typically, I would line up, I would set myself around here where my cursor is. On the basis that they're going to play the ball out to where I am, and it gives me a visual of what is happening. Recently, since being promoted, I've been an assistant referee to some high-level refs, and they tend to adopt this position as well. However, I've also noticed some older referees that have been refereeing a long time, and my mentor has spoken to me about this as well, is they set up very much near the touchline, so they get a full visual of play that's going on, and if the goalkeeper spoons it into the middle of the pitch, they're not underneath play directly. So I thought I'd try and adopt this position wider so that I can get a view on what's happening. Alternatively, it means if play does break into the middle, you're already between yourself and the assistant, so you're left of play, which is encouraged. And so I thought I'd give it a try. As the ball breaks back into the middle, you can see we're in a relatively good position. And if something were to happen, we can just transition into the middle of the pitch without the risk of getting caught. There were a couple of goal kicks before this where I set up normally, but I noticed that ball was getting kicked in a bit central, so I thought I'd try it, and I actually quite like it. But for any of you referees out there, let me know where you usually stand for goal kicks and what you think about this one. 20 minutes in, the team in white score an equaliser. You'll see the team in blue break forward. We have to make a big sprint to make sure there's no collision. And then straight away, we're back up the other end. The defenders miss it. And we've got to get into a position to see a potential foul. By the time that ball goes into the box, we're kind of not on the edge of the box, but we're in a decent position from where we started. I probably could have worked a little bit harder, sprinted all the way in, but it's just an example of how you can see how quickly play can transition and how you're at one end and then you've got to be at the other. Thankfully, nothing happened here, but ideally I would have liked to have been in shot by the time there was an opportunity for there to be a foul here. Then on the 22nd minute, we get a little bit tunnel visioned and I get myself into a bit of a sticky spot. So let's talk through it. There's what I deem a fair tackle here, and the lad goes down. And then the number 4 in blue gets pulled down. We allow them to play a quick free kick, and then we notice that that lad is still on the floor. However, it's not a serious injury, so we carry on with play, but we are kind of checking to see if he's okay, and then there's a foul out on the side. So this is just not very good. One, if I'm going to check on him, I just need to stop play and then go and check on him and give a drop ball, because I could have missed something very clear here. More importantly, the reason I didn't stop play is because last week when I was refereeing, I didn't allow the team to take a quick free kick, and it wasn't the right thing to do. I should have let them play the quick free kick. However, the identical situation has happened here, which was just 3 days later, and I wanted to allow the team to play quickly. However, I didn't notice that the lad was injured behind me because I got so tunnel visioned on what I wanted the game to do. So what I should have done is recognise that the lad was on the floor, not allow the quick free kick to be taken, and then stop play. The lad's down injured, the game should have never restarted from the foul. So it's completely my fault. At this point, I've realised that I shouldn't have let play restart because the lad was down injured. And so what could have been a yellow card for stopping a promising attack, I've now justified in my mind as I shouldn't give a yellow because they should never have even been on the attack in the first place. So I pull the captain and the player in and I have a conversation with them to explain that they won't be receiving a yellow card because, it's kind of my fault they're in the spot in the first place. And I'll give you 5 seconds to guess what happens next. They deliver the ball and they score. So blue team go 2-1 up. Then after around half an hour, we get our first yellow card of the game. Now, typically for defensive throw-ins, I would take a much more aggressive position. I want to be like further up the pitch because that ball's likely going to go down the line. So usually I may stand somewhere up here. However, with it being in the final third, it's likely that that ball may drop into this area here. So I've dropped a little bit deeper this time. Sod's law, the ball gets thrown in, it's miscontrolled, and then I'm stuck in a really bad position where I'm in the way of play. So I pivot to get out and then the challenge happens. It looks bad. I think this is a red card watching it back. I'm a little bit too close to play. I've kind of pivoted out and then as they are sliding in, I look to see the contact. I'm so close to this. It's really hard to see what happens when you're this close. I know that sounds silly because surely the closer you are, the easier it is to see, but it's hard to explain. It's really not the case. For me, the contact looked like foot to foot. It looked like he stamped on his foot. However, it looks to me that as it happens, he glances over and then catches the other leg as well. So the lad's right leg. You'll notice there's not actually much reaction from the players. Like no one seems outraged or furious with what's happened. And this really kind of cemented what I thought in the moment was just a yellow card. We wait for the physio to arrive and then we think about what we're doing. So we come back and isolate that player out of the way. I decided in the moment that this was a reckless tackle and it warranted a yellow card, which there didn't seem to be any argument about from the players. As you can see, no one even questioned the fact that it was a yellow. At this point, the number 4 shows me his leg and he's got stub marks way above the ankle, which indicates to me that the contact was a lot higher than I thought. And in this moment, I did genuinely think, wow, if the contact is there, maybe I should be given a red here. Maybe I can change my mind. But then the thought process came, well, how do I know those stud marks weren't there before the game? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I don't know that they were there beforehand. And so I decided not to change my decision and stick with the yellow on pitch. But the more I watch it back, the more I think this could be red, but it didn't seem like anybody expected red on the pitch at the time. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's a yellow card or do you think it should have been red as well? We then get a situation shortly after where the team in white have come very close to scoring and it's quite chaotic in the box. And this is a perfect example of how you've got to watch so many things as a referee when you're out there by yourself. So white take a shot, it hits the bar. Obviously we're checking it didn't cross the goal line. Then there's a collision with a centre back. There's asked for a penalty, we say no, and then he skies it. So you've got like 3, 4, 5 decisions to make in literally like 2 or 3 seconds. It's crazy how quickly things happen. You'll see here though that they're all correct and nothing really happens. The lad takes the shot. It's evident that it doesn't pass the goal line based on where the rubber crumb comes up. We then get shouts for a penalty, but it's clear that he actually trips the centre back and then the centre back trips him over, so no foul there. And then we got to make sure the shot is just a goal kick and that there's no deflection. So all good. Then just before halftime, we get a situation that you'll all be familiar with. Is the ball in and out of play? And there's some arguments around it straight afterwards. This will happen a lot when you don't have assistant referees because people default to the fact that the other team are cheating or not in the right position, etc., etc. So the ball bounces up and the number 3 tries to keep the ball in play. The number 10 then headers it in and the club assistant, who obviously is not necessarily in line with the touchline, puts his flag up and they're visibly upset. We tell them to move away because the ball was out of play and I tell the captain to settle down. This is an interesting one and let me kind of try and break it down. My logic in the moment told me that this ball was out of play because when the number 3 plays the ball into the box, he plants his standing foot on the touchline, which I could see, right? So at that point, his foot is on the touchline and he's at full stretch to try and play the ball. So logic tells you the ball has to be out of play. However, the Club assistant is obviously a club assistant, and so if the ball's not out of play, he's not going to put his flag up, but if it is, he's 100% going to put his flag up, because if he says it's still in play, then he's a very honest guy, and it is, so I don't need to blow my whistle quickly. So I have to wait to see if he puts the flag up. When he does, obviously I completely agree, because I thought it was out of play in the first place, but I wanted to make sure before I blow the whistle. In future, I will probably just blow the whistle myself and give it early to prevent the potential aftermath of what could happen when they score and then you're effectively disallowing it. But my logic was, well, if it's out, the club assistant's obviously going to put his flag up because it's his own team. And that's exactly what happened. But the fact that it's late and he's not in line causes a few issues. So I think in hindsight, I'll just blow a little bit quicker next time. And then I make a mistake by giving a foul incorrectly just before halftime. So you'll see as the lad in white controls it, I thought here that he'd actually taken a touch. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's not incorrect. It's hard to tell. In the moment, I thought he'd kicked through the lad in white's foot, and maybe that's actually the case. But when I watched it back in real time, it did look like the lad in blue had actually nudged it. But when I look at it in slow-mo, it might have actually been a foul. It's hard to tell. It may be a little bit soft, but again, it just heightens frustrations again if I have got it incorrect, which is frustrating, but I thought he'd kicked through his foot at the time, and actually watching the slow-mo, that might be right, but I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to tell. And anyway, that is half time. A first half with quite a lot to look at. It gets even better in the second half though, so let's jump straight in. Right at the start of the second half, the team in white scored this absolute thunderbolt. Some strike. About 15 minutes into the second half, we get our second yellow card of the game. For me, the lad is driving in towards goal. He's tried to have one bite of the cherry, not succeed in tripping him, and then slides in and fouls him again. For me, this has gone down as reckless play, but you could give it for foul tackle for stopping a promising attack. The white number 5 then commits this foul. And seeing as we've just had that tackle in the middle where we've had to issue a yellow card, we want to make sure that the temperature of the game doesn't keep rising. And so I pulled him in to have a chat and just explained to him that, you know, it's just a little bit late, that's okay, but we just need to be careful and settle down. But make a note of that I've already had a word with him for the tackle. We then give maybe the most controversial is not the right word, but I guess questionable call of the match that leads to a penalty. So the ball is played through by white to a player in an offside position. The club assistant raises his flag. He doesn't play the ball. A player comes from an offside position, gets fouled, and we give a penalty. So let's break this down. What do the laws of the game say about offside? The first thing it says about offside is it is not an offence to be in an offside position. So just because you are still in an offside position does not make it an offence. What is an offside position? A player is in an offside position if any part of the head, body or feet is in the opponent's half and is nearer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second to last opponent. That meets this criteria. The hands and the arms are not included because they obviously can't play the ball. You're also not offside if you are level. So when is offside an offence? A player is in an offside position at the moment the ball is played or touched by a teammate, is only penalised on becoming involved in active play. And you become active by interfering with play by playing or touching the ball. They didn't do that. Or interfering with an opponent by preventing an opponent from playing the ball or clearly obstructing the line of vision. They've not done that. Challenging an opponent for the ball. They've not done that. Clearly attempting to play a ball which is close when this action impacts on an opponent. I don't think they've done that. Or makes an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play a ball. I don't think they've done that either. So him running towards the ball and then stopping does not clearly impact the ability of an opponent to play the ball. However, clearly attempting to play a ball which is close when this action impacts on an opponent. Yeah, I don't think this is offside reading that. When I interpret the laws, I don't think that action has impacted an opponent. What has impacted the opponent is their own club assistant raising the flag before he's actually played the ball. If the club assistant doesn't raise the flag, I don't think they all stop. And that was my thought process in the moment, and that is what I think now. The ball is played. They're all running towards putting their hand up, and then they stop when the flag goes up. However, he doesn't play the ball, and there's a penalty. So I think this is correct in law, personally. However, you could argue that the impact of him running towards the ball is that the opponents have stopped. My interpretation is it was actually the club assistant raising their flag which caused them to stop, and so I don't believe this is offside. You'll see that we get some arguments, so I walk over to the club assistant to clarify what he's seen, and we come to the agreement that the first lad was offside, the second lad wasn't, and so I'm going to award a penalty. Can the team in white make this 3-2? Now, if we flash back to the start of the game where I had great positioning when there could have been a dog's opportunity, we get into the 85th minute and I get either tired or lazy, and that is not okay. I need to make sure that I do the right things at the start of the game and I do the right things at the end of the game, regardless of whether I'm tired or not. So you'll see the ball played as a goal kick. It kind of bounces around a little bit and then very quickly it breaks over the top. And there's a potential collision between goalkeeper and striker here. Now, where am I stood? I am bang in the middle. I either need to break left to get an angle or break right to get an angle. And I've been lazy and kind of stayed straight on. If something happens here, I haven't got a clue. There's no way I can see clearly what happens from this angle. Thankfully, there's a clearance and there's not really much in it, but it's really not a good spot to be in. And it's a spot you can very easily get caught out on late in the game. Just a minute after that, we nearly get a mass confrontation. Let's take a look. The blue captain makes a foul and we see if we can play advantage. We get ready to blow the whistle. Then he loses possession, so we blow the whistle to bring it back. And then there's a little bit of afters on the floor. You'll then see players a little bit pushing and shoving and walking in. And then suddenly we've got, probably 16 to 18 players all around pushing and shoving. There's absolutely no need for it. There really wasn't much in those tackles. The first thing I do is I pull the captain in from blue that committed the original foul, which I deemed to be reckless. The player in blue that stood over the player in white who was on the floor, and then the white number 5 who's walked, 30, 40 yards to come and get involved and shove a couple people. So I caution the captain for reckless play. I deem the tackle to be reckless. I tell the lad in blue to settle down and be careful. There wasn't really much in it, but his actions could have caused more than what it needed to cause. And then I cautioned the white number 5 for adopting an aggressive attitude. I'd already spoken to him previous in the game, and then he's walked in here and pushed people without any need, in my opinion. And so we give a yellow card for adopting an aggressive attitude. Following that, the white manager was then shouting onto the pitch saying I'd missed a stamp, but as we can see from the footage, there's nothing like that. And so we caution him as well for dissent by word or action. With just a minute to go, we then get our final yellow card of the game. We give a free kick for this deliberate handball. It does come off another body part first, but he brings his arm down towards the ball afterwards. So for me, this is a deliberate action. And then as the white team are trying to play quickly, the lad in blue delays the restart by blocking it. Very simple. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. But it's not over. This is a cut match. Let's have a look at the penalty shootout. So, penalty shootout. I've made a note of all the substitutions so I know who should be on the pitch and who shouldn't. And the teams line up on the halfway line. So, when you're a referee, what is the procedure around managing a penalty shootout? So unless there's any other considerations, such as ground safety, ground condition, the referee must toss the coin to decide the goal in which the kicks will be taken. I didn't do this. That was incorrect from me. Both teams were happy to take the penalties down the far end because there's a big net behind the goal and it's in front of the clubhouse. In future, I'll do a coin toss to make sure this is done correctly, but my fault, I didn't do that. Then you toss the coin again, and the team that wins decides whether to take first or second. So we did that, happy days. With the exception of a substitute for a goalkeeper who's unable to continue, only players who are on the field of play at the end of the match are eligible to take kicks. Right, so you cannot make substitutions after the full-time whistle for the penalty shootout, unless it's to substitute a goalkeeper who is injured. Each team is responsible for selecting from the eligible players the order in which they will take kicks. The referee is not informed of the order. During the penalties, only players and match officials are allowed on the pitch. Makes total sense. All players that are playing must remain in the centre circle, other than the two goalkeepers. The goalkeeper of the team that's taking the penalty must stand on the edge of the box where the box meets the touchline, so on that corner on the touchline. And anyone in the shootout can swap with the goalkeeper if they want to. As the referee, then you just need to keep a record of the kicks, and that is pretty much it. There are other considerations, but we won't dive into all of them because it's very, very long and rare that this will ever happen. A lot to cover, but very simply, just do the toss for the goal, do the toss for the captains, mark down who scored and what player scored, and then keep score until it's over, and then blow your whistle for full time. See you guys next week.